Hello, everyone, and welcome to webinar number 7, brought to you by Tilia Labs. A big thank you to those who have joined us for multiple sessions. I hope you found these webinars to be valuable. I'm George Follickman, Director of Sales and Business Development for Tilia Labs, and as always, I'm joined by my counterpart, Tyler Thompson, Director of Solutions and Technologies. Today is a highly anticipated event. We will unveil a lot of new development that we've been working on for our Tilia Phoenix 7.0 release. Our customers have long requested support for commercial bookwork, and we're pleased to show you the tremendous progress that our development team has made to this end. This is intended to be an interactive event, so I encourage you to use the Q&A functions of Zoom to ask questions. Our presenters will answer these in real time or during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Tyler.
Great, thanks, George. Hello, everyone. Appreciate you joining. All right. Can you, George, did it transition? Just want to make sure.
Yep, we can see your slide.
Perfect. All right, as George mentioned, my name is Tyler Thompson. I am the Solutions Director here at Tilia Labs. I've been in the industry ever since graduating from Clemson University, where I hold a Bachelor's of Science degree in Graphic Communications, based in South Carolina, and also hold a Master's of Science degree from Denver University in Computer Information Systems. If you have questions, like George mentioned, you can use the chat feature in Zoom, or the questions feature in Zoom, and George and a couple other colleagues will answer via chat or save it till the end, and we can answer it live. And then if you have any other questions or want to contact or reach out directly, my email is tyler@tilialabs.com. So for the agenda today, we'll start with, for those of you who are new, a quick introduction of Tilia Labs, who we are, and a little bit about our company. Then we'll go into what is imposition AI and why do I need imposition AI. We'll look at how to use imposition AI specifically for commercial print. We'll start with flat work, and then we'll move into handling bookwork imposition in pages and see the new technology around our commercial bookwork features. And then at the end, we'll save the last 15 or 20 minutes for Q&A. So a bit about Tilia Labs. We are a software company, and we are only a software company. We're not affiliated or owned by any hardware company. We don't manufacture hardware. We are strictly a software development company. And we recently, just this past year, won the Intertech Awards. So we're a proud recipient of the 2019 Intertech Award for our True AI technology, which we'll look at today. And we're based in Ottawa, Canada. So we have a team of developers that sit in Toronto, development and QA, and then we also have a team of developers in QA that sit in Japan. And then here in the US, we've got sales, technical sales, and direct support and marketing. So year to date, we have just over 500 licenses sold of our flagship product, Phoenix. So we've grown really fast since our company was founded in 2012. So we're relatively newer to the printing and packaging industry, but we've grown quickly over the past 7-8 years. And we've got global distribution in over 32 countries. So again, feel free to reach out or chat us if you need help getting in contact with the distributor. And we've got a mix of products. What we're going to focus on today, of course, is Phoenix, which includes all of our commercial bookwork features, as well as several other features. But Phoenix is our flagship product. We also have Griffin. Tilia Griffin is a specifically developed for sign in wide format. It's a subset of Phoenix. We have a product, Tilia Aries, which is also a subset of Phoenix, intended specifically for label, step, and repeat. And then Tilia Cloud is our cloud licensing platform, which all of our products access for licensing and to share licensing via the cloud. So we're going to start with just a little bit of hypothetical and theoretical discussions around AI and just making imposition and making our life easier. So how do we make imposition smarter? Well, if we take a look at how AI is being used around us, we see that, well, AI is used every day in our life via, Facebook, looking at our face, recognizing patterns in our face, or unlocking our phones. We see it in Google, with playing, challenging and beating humans in challenging games like AlphaGo, in making decisions. And then we see it being used heavily in the automotive industry with, self-driving cars and overlaying information so that, we have information at our fingertips. And, AI is being used even in, pathology and in the medical space to do things like detect cancerous skin cells, right? So AI is being used all around us, and AI is continuously looking at these very large data sets and making decisions. So we see it in shopping, we see it in searching on the internet, we see it AI being used in banking. But how can we use and leverage AI in our particular space? So in printing and commercial printing and packaging, we have looked at this challenging problem of human planning and human impositioning and applied AI. So this process of human planning is typically, or human impositioning is typically a manual process. So we see this being done in some cases, like you see on screen, with rubber cement and pasting up, your items on a 40-inch press sheet or a B1 press sheet. And then in some cases, it's being done in programs like Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, where you're manually kind of moving your items around or imposing your items in the Adobe products. And this process, typically takes anywhere from 1 to 2 days to plan production. And there's, generally thousands of different templates that we're saving for different sheet sizes, for different folding patterns, for different trim sizes. And this process is laborious and typically taking anywhere from 1 to 2 hours of time in order to impose a press form or find the template and or build a new template in many cases. And if we take a look at why this typically takes such a long time, well, it's this question of, how many items can I fit on my sheet? I've got a customer's order, in this case, that's 9 inches by 9 inches. And the customer ordered 50,000 of these, and I have a 40-inch press sheet or a certain size sheet that I want to produce or print on. Right. So the question is always, okay, well, how many sheets is that going to take? How many print forms and press runs is that going to take? And how many of this item do I need in order to fulfill this order? So I'll spare you the hard, challenging math here, but this problem is actually pretty simple because it's pretty quick to calculate. It's only going to take us 8 up of this particular SKU, and to fulfill this order quantity of 50,000, we're going to need to print 6,250 sheets at a minimum. So this problem is a pretty simple problem to solve. However, the problem gets a bit more challenging when we start to look at running multiple jobs. And I'm sure everybody who's listening in on the webinar does more than one job a day. So this is where we start needing to leverage technology and software to look at a really large data set. So why? Because if we look at even this simple example where we now have 2 different jobs that we have to run, or two different items, one of 50,000, one of 25,000. The question is, how do we estimate this? How do we plan this for production? Do we, run a 20% overage on SKU number 2, on the orange SKU? Because we can fit this all on one press form and print, 10,000 sheets. But is that more cost effective than, say, splitting this up on 2 press forms? So instead of comboing the jobs, is it actually more cost effective to separate these on their own press runs? We save sheets here, right? We save about 1,700 sheets of paper if we run it this way. However, we now introduce a press changeover, right? We've now introduced costs for 4 more sets of plates, a make ready and cleanup, a changeover. So, what really is the most cost-effective way to run this job? And then it gets even more challenging and more dynamic when we start looking at, the 10, 20, 100, or thousands of jobs that, you're running on a day-to-day basis. So the reason, AI is needed to solve a problem like impositioning and planning in the most cost-effective manner is because there's so many variables in print, right? Every job we do is typically a custom job. It's got a custom size. It's got a custom shape. It runs on different stocks, different quantities, potentially different dyes and finishing and colors. And do we run this digital or do we run this offset, right? So we've got just a ton of different possible ways of running your jobs and comboing your jobs. It's really challenging for a human to look at all of these different permutations. And this is important because we see, and we've seen for a long time now, a trend of personalization, right? So even just as recent as 2018, InfoTrends, went and surveyed 108 enterprises, your customers, our customers. And, their focus on spend is in improving their customer experience is getting more touch points through different, cross-channel, cross-media platforms. So, digital, of course, internet, but, the top is personalized, both print and digital communications. So this, this concept of personalized print and the effectiveness of personalized print and direct mail and personalized digital marketing is now challenging the printer and converter, right? Because we've got these shorter run lengths, we've got high variability in sizes and quantities because everything is so custom and so personalized. And we're being asked to turn this around faster and at the same time somehow, decrease cost. And we're trying to do this while, maintaining thousands of imposition templates and trying to, rely on humans to look at all of these different, possible ways of comboing and possible ways of imposing your jobs. So this is where Phoenix comes into play. Phoenix is the industry's first AI-driven planning and imposition tool. And the whole goal and concept of Phoenix is to look at a really large data set of possible ways of running your one or many jobs. And if we take a look at just this example that's running on screen here, you can see that, Phoenix has ingested 13 different, in this case, postcards. And there are, an infinite number of ways to take these 13 items across even just 2 different presses, my digital press and my offset CD102. And I have 39 different sheet sizes that I'm asking Phoenix to evaluate, right? And Phoenix is returning hundreds and thousands of results and nearly instantaneously and sorting these by the most cost-effective way to run your work. So, leveraging AI is real and it's here and it's being used in every other industry, and it's very applicable to help us make smarter cost-based, data-driven decisions in pre-production for print. So how does this work? Well, it's not too challenging, actually. There's really only 3 steps. We first need to start by helping your pre-production and imposition and planning team. Then we make Phoenix and train Phoenix on your production environment and costs. And then you ask Phoenix the question of what is the best way to impose these jobs. So, planners in imposition and prepress, of course, retire. They need vacations. When it comes to just making decisions and being able to look at large data sets, computers are really more efficient in many cases. So we need to help them and help planners in imposition in prepress by providing them tools to help them make these decisions and look at the data in a more effective, more efficient manner. Then we make Phoenix as smart as possible. We train it about your presses. So your digital presses, your offset presses, you make Phoenix aware of your finishing equipment and your costs and your setup and your make readies and your stocks. And if we look at what this looks like, you model essentially your production environment in Phoenix. So I've got a CD102, my offset press, sheet fed press. I've got a speed of 14,000 sheets an hour. You make Phoenix aware of your changeover and your costs to run this press, your min-max sheet size of this press and your constraints. How many colors does this press have, right? Because you don't want Phoenix to suggest running items that exceed the number of physical ink stations on press if it's a conventional press. So you make Phoenix also aware of your production marks, and Phoenix you'll see here soon, intelligently place your marks. But you make Phoenix aware of your costs. You can get very granular with your costs around setup and make ready and change over time. And then you do the same thing with your stocks. So you make Phoenix aware of your different stock sizes that you can order or that you have in inventory and the cost of those, right? And then Phoenix will look at all of this information, your cutters and your finishing equipment. And Phoenix will look at all of this, information and start evaluating and looking at different ways of running and imposing your files. And it's all based around cost. So, Phoenix is running through all the permutations and looking at and honing in on the most cost-effective way to run your batch of orders. So let's take a deep dive in what this looks like. So we'll start with a sheet-fed offset imposition. And we'll look at how Phoenix is capable of this dynamic planning and impositioning without the need of templates. So I'm going to start in Phoenix, and the first thing I should mention is that Phoenix is cross-platform, and Phoenix runs on, like you see here, on Mac OS, also on Windows, and if you're running Phoenix in an automated fashion, it can also run in Linux. So it's truly cross-platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a CSV file, which contains all my order information. And this CSV file is a file that in my case, I pulled from FileMaker, but could come from any business system. And it specifies my quantity that the customer ordered, my bleed, my stock, and some other criteria here. I could just drag my files right into the Phoenix UI, but then I have to type everything in. So instead, I'm going to make it faster by just importing a CSV file. And then I get prompted to map my CSV file, but I already did that. So there we go. Now Phoenix has just brought in and ingested all of those orders from that CSV file. So 13 orders. You can see my quantities specified in the Phoenix UI from that data file. And then what I'm going to do is ask Phoenix, first I'm going to start by not doing any combinations. So one of my profiles I set up in Phoenix keeps all of each individual order separate on its own press sheet. So that's what I'm going to start with. And then I'm going to ask Phoenix to impose this and plan it and cost it on a B1 press sheet, a 40-inch press sheet on my offset press. And then I click run, and instantaneously, less than a second, Phoenix took all these 13 items and figured out the most best fit on my 40-inch press sheet. It's a pretty simple problem to solve here, right? So I had 13 orders. I expect 13 press forms, which I got here, and Phoenix costed the job. It set up each press form here on a 40-inch sheet. It set my total copy count and each individual copy count. And Phoenix also then added my marks for production. It's a fully imposed, the file's ready to go to press at this point. So this is again, pretty simple problem to solve here. Not terribly impressive. However, it's extremely fast in its ability to just impose on the fly without any templates. So, okay, that costs us about $8,300 if we run it and plan it without doing any combination printing. And in many cases, this is how most of the industry works, and that's totally fine. You just say file export and you're on your way. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drive this cost down. So I'm going to be on press, Phoenix is saying, for 13 hours to run this batch of work. And it's going to cost me $8,000 to run it. Now what I'm going to do is ask Phoenix to look at, use the default profile for combination. And I'm going to allow Phoenix to evaluate 2 presses. So I've introduced my 7900, my Indigo 7900, as well as my offset press. And then I'm going to allow Phoenix to evaluate all of my different sheet sizes. And now you can see there is an infinite number of ways, right? There's not just one result like there was before, but rather hundreds of results that keep, bubbling. Phoenix keeps finding, more cost-effective ways to run this job, and it keeps driving that cost down. So when we allow combination printing like this, and allow Phoenix to evaluate the most cost-effective way to dynamically impose based on cost, you can see that we're going to drive our cost down significantly. In this case, we went from running the job on 13 press runs. Phoenix is now suggesting we run only 1 press run on our CD102, you see, and then it pushed the other items on your digital press. Right? It's because it could fit it on a smaller sheet size, and the copy count made sense to run it on a digital press, right? It's more cost effective this way. And we went from $8,000 down to $1,000, right? So this is the power of Phoenix, and this is how and why AI is being used in print and in planning every day to make these decisions faster and more efficiently. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is export this file. And Phoenix, of course, is going to export the print-ready file, either JDF or PDF, directly to your workflow or your RIP. But what I like to point out is this production report. So from this simple job of 13 postcards, Phoenix creates a nice production report. So you can see each press form is represented there in the PDF. And also, if you remember, I just dragged in a CSV file to kick off this whole process, right? So from that CSV file, Phoenix went and found all the artwork files. And then Phoenix also shows in this report each file that was ordered and the information about each file. So in this case, the customer ordered 7,000 of these postcards, and Phoenix suggested that it's more cost effective to overrun this almost 50%, because what normally would happen is a planner would look at this and say, well, we're not going to overrun that much, so I'm going to move this to another press run, right? And that means Phoenix now has 4 more sets of plates, right? Another press changeover. Phoenix is saying, instead, let's combo this onto an already existing press run, and we will save cost, right? So Phoenix is capable of looking at all those different scenarios. All right. So now that you got kind of this high-level overview of at least what Phoenix does and how the decision-making process works for Phoenix, I'm going to just start diving into some more demonstrations around using Phoenix. In this case, now I'm going to do a dynamic imposition with a lot more items in here. And again, I'm going to start from a CSV order file. So I've got my postcards at the bottom there, but now I've also introduced a ton of business cards. You can see the quantities are ranging all over the place. Pretty common in our space, right? Runs are getting smaller, or they're extremely dynamic in the quantities that are being ordered. And we've got different materials, different sizes. And with Phoenix, I can come and adjust my bleeds. I can set, some settings up on my one-up. And when I'm ready to go, I just click Imposition AI. And now I've got, you can see 113 items that I'm trying to plan here. And I'm gonna allow Phoenix to run this on, I'm gonna start on my CD102 and my 10,000 and 7,900 and ask Phoenix what is the best one to run it on, or a combination thereof. And I click run. And now what Phoenix is going to do is take those 113 items and evaluate across my 3 different presses, across my 39 different sheet sizes, and start formulating results in the most cost-effective manner. So I'll move forward a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do, so once you're good with the result, Phoenix says, we're going to run this on some of our items on a 7,900. And then I think the last press form here, 15,000 run length, is going to squeeze that onto our offset press. But now what I want to do is I want to cost this job and set it up for my digital press. So where Phoenix set it up for my offset and my digital press, now I want to take this same job and just evaluate it quickly for my digital press. So I go back into Imposition AI, and now I'm just going to change my devices and ask Phoenix only to evaluate this now on my digital press. So I'll just say I want to run this on my 7,900. Phoenix auto filters my sheet sizes and knows only my A4 or my 19 by 13 is going to fit. And then I say run. And again, now Phoenix will dynamically in seconds move this from, what it originally planned on to a completely different setup, completely different sheet size and imposition template. So you can see, just how dynamic and quick and easy it is for Phoenix to evaluate both costs and imposing on different presses. Now I'm going to switch it to my 10,000. You can see I've got a B2 press sheet now. So I'll let Phoenix evaluate both. And then in seconds, Phoenix is quickly evaluating, rerunning the job on a different press. All right, so now we'll move into commercial book work. So in this demo, we're going to look at how Phoenix handles books. I'm going to start with just a very basic workflow here, and I'm going to create a new bound product. So this is all brand new in Phoenix. And I'm going to create our Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax. And I'm going to set my stock. So I'll go ahead and put this on, pick my stock. I can choose my binding method, so saddle stitch. In my case, my folding pattern, so I'm going to do 16-page SIGs here. I can break those up into sections if they're Smythe sewn. In my case, I'm just going to keep it simple here. I'm going to do 8.5 by 11 and set my bleeds and say, okay. So what Phoenix now is going to do is generate this empty imposition form for us, right? So you can see my signatures are created there. And this, I asked this to be saddle stitch. You can see my pages are empty. And now what I want to do is come and adjust my settings for my signatures here. So You can see my signatures with my page count, and because it's 72 pages there, I've got a couple empties, but I'm going to adjust my spines and my spine trim, my jog trim and face trims here. And I can set my lips. So this is, as you would expect from you know, any traditional book imposition settings. I can set my lips, my trims, my creep. We've got algorithms for auto calculating both lips and creeps, a couple of different ways, inward, outward. We can set an offset, or we can set a scale. So a lot of settings there for managing and handling creep. So when I'm good with this, you can see, I can see this in real time. There's my creep being applied through all my SIGs. And now I'm ready to impose this. So once I'm done creating my imposition form, again, I just go right back into imposition AI. And I'm going to ask Phoenix now to put this and cost this on my offset press on a 40-inch press sheet here. And click run, pretty simple. So now I've got an empty, filled, and imposed book that I'm ready to start introducing pages to. So again, I'm starting very basic here to show the most basic workflow, but I'm going to switch into my pages view here. And now with Phoenix, I can assign my pages. So here's my book, the Lorax here. And I just click on the pages I want to assign and click assign, and bam, fills in my pages. I can check my pages, resize them if needed. But now that book is fully imposed in the template and ready to go. So you can see all of my trims are still honored. My color bars are now applied because I have ink. And we're off and running. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch and add a, I've got a revision page. So in my pages view, page 3 and page 5 have revisions. So you can see I just added some blobs on there. But so for page 3, again, it's all very simple. Click, point, drag and drop. I just swap my revisions in per page, or I can just revise the entire PDF. But in my case, I just have these 2 revisions that got approved. And I go back to my layout, and dynamically, my changes are updated in real time. All right. So now we're going to speed this process up a bit. So that's the most kind of rudimentary, basic manual approach. Now what we're going to do is drive this with data. So instead of having to set up, in that manual fashion inside of Phoenix, just like I was driving my earlier demos with CSV files, I can do the same thing with my book work. So you can get this information directly from your ERP system, right? Where I've got all of my binding. So this is an 8-page and a 4-page SIG. This case, it's mice zone, so I've got 16 pages per section. I've set my trims, specified my trims, my size, and my artwork in this case. So now this information can be consumed by Phoenix, right? I just drag in those, the books that I want to start imposing. So I'm grabbing 3 of them in this case. And Phoenix is going to import those files, set up the imposition based on the specified settings from the CSV file, all with just drag and drop. So I don't have to set anything up in this case, right? And this is going to be fully parametric and dynamic based on the incoming PDF file sizes. So I don't need templates. I don't need to set up, templates for every press size or sheet size or trim size, right? It's all dynamic. So I've got some saddle stitch, I've got some perfect bound, and then again, now with these 4-page SIGs, I just go right back into imposition AI, and I've got 3 different books, and Phoenix goes in and figures out how to impose those books in this case, on my CD 102. So you could see Phoenix is even going to suggest in scenarios if it's cost effective to Dutch right? And you can control those settings. But in this case, I allowed Phoenix to evaluate the most cost-effective way. So when I'm good with one of these, again, I just double click to apply, the same as I've been doing and the same as I'm used to in Phoenix. So now it's created my imposed forms based on my folding pattern and sig count. And now if I want to switch this to my digital press, so instead of running this on my offset press, I want to run it on my 7900. And you can see I've got two different stocks that these books are running on. And with a click of a button, I've just switched and moved this entire job and reimposed it on now a A4 or a 19 by 13 inch sheet, right? So again, just the, Phoenix's ability, now I'm going to switch it to my 10,000, so my larger format press. Phoenix is just extremely efficient and fast on being able to switch and move your items in jobs from press to press, sheet size to sheet size, without the need of ever creating an imposition template. Okay, and then I'm gonna just wrap it up here with digital web book printing demo here. So again, now I'm moving away from sheet fed and I'm moving into I'm gonna run this on my Indigo 50,000. So it's a web fed digital press here, and I've got a ton of books. So these are all 4-page SIGs here, you can see, and these are smice zone, and I need to impose these on a roll. So especially with today, just this kind of dynamic on-demand book printing, e-commerce type scenarios, this is extremely challenging to solve. So I've got 12 books here. You can see they're smice zone, they're in sections, very simple artwork here. But I've imported my books that were ordered online, all at a quantity of 1. And now I want to optimize my web. So Phoenix has the ability with its new algorithm for commercial lane optimization. And in this scenario, you can see Phoenix will not only impose and build our sections, but also generate our web impositions and impose it on a web imposition to fully optimize the web, the material, and the frame on your digital press. So in this scenario here, it was pretty simple because it was all just, not simple, but it was all 4-page signatures here. Different number of pages and copy counts. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I still want to impose on a digital web, but I want to do a dual lane scenario here where I've got 2 different folding patterns. So I'm going to do 8-page SIGs and 4-page SIGs. So dual folding patterns on a dual lane on a web. And at the same time, I'm going to split the frame of the Indigo to fully optimize both the material and the click charges for your digital press. So again, I'm just going to drag in my CSV file. And in this case, you can see I've got 8-page SIGs and 4-page SIGs. And now I'm going to pull those right into Phoenix. Phoenix is going to generate, within a couple seconds, generate my imposition. I can go look at my signatures, view my signatures. So here's my 8-page front and back, and then here's my 4-page. And I'm going to pull this right into imposition AI, keep my commercial lane algorithm, and bam. Phoenix now is the only application that's capable of not only optimizing a digital frame on a web, but splitting the signature. You could see down here, splitting an 8-page signature in half to cover both on a web to maintain and fully optimize. You could see down here at the bottom, this is my 8-page, and then this is half of my 8-page SIG, which then continues on to the next frame, right? So this concept of frame splitting in web based in positioning, especially for digital web and book printing, is yeah, extremely dynamic and feature rich in Phoenix. So George, I'm going to kick it back over to you, but and I'll leave this up on the screen here, just some other commercial print features that I didn't get to cover. But we have features that are helping us with all sorts of different binding scenarios, right? For across the globe, Arabic, Hebrew, East Asian books, top bound for children's books and calendaring. So a ton of really exciting features coming with Phoenix 7.0 for our commercial book work in positioning.
Yeah, Tyler. Wow, fantastic presentation. I think of the 7 or 8 of these that we've done so far, this one was wow, just really, really good. We have quite a few questions coming in, and not a ton of time, so I'm going to try to answer a few of the top ones here, and then yeah, we'll try to well, we'll follow up with an email after this webinar, and you guys can continue to ask your questions to us directly. But here's one that came in kind of early, and I think you touched on it in the presentation, but I'd like for you to reiterate it. So does Phoenix understand things like grain direction, and can you control those Dutch cut layouts? Because I think we had 1 or 2 people who mentioned they don't do that.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess the grain direction question, yes, you can in Phoenix make Phoenix aware of the grain direction of a product, and then if grain direction is specified, Phoenix will auto snap and only rotate a product to match the grain or flute direction specified in the one-up. So yes, grain direction for sure. For the Dutch cuts, yes, absolutely. You can control and allow Phoenix to not rotate and not Dutch your items if that is something that you can't or don't do. So yep, you have full control over that in Phoenix.
Awesome. Does this integrate with MIS systems? We've got a couple questions coming in about some specific ones, but yeah, what ways do we have to kind of integrate with some of the MIS systems out there?
Yeah, so you can see my screen, right? I'm switching over to Phoenix.
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
So in Phoenix, we can automate everything that I showed you in Phoenix in the UI has an associated REST API call. So we can build impositions, we can use impositions and folding patterns all through our REST API. This is definitely the most robust and feature-rich portion of our automation is through our RESTful API. We also have a switch connector, so we have a switch configurator, and we also have the ability to use hot folders. So we can use hot folders, and in hot folders, we can have scripts and actions that happen, which is fully customizable by the user.
What about XML data, Tyler? Can those hot folders be driven via XML?
Yeah, so you can import CSVs, XMLs, text files, really with hot folders, any type of data file that we can parse. So, yep.
Awesome. Here's a good question, and I think our CTO is on the call, so I won't pin you down to the first part of this question, which is when will this be publicly available? But when it is available, is this going to require any additional modules, or where is this going to fit into the current Tilia Phoenix kind of product line?
Yeah, that's a great question on the commercial side. So that is, I guess, in regards to the question of when it's going to be released, we plan to release this we plan to release it at Drupa. Unfortunately, we all know what happened there. So we can expect this shortly after fall time when we were originally planning to release. In regards to, I forgot the other question, George.
Oh, the other question was, is this going to require additional modules for Phoenix, or is it going to be bundled into some of the modules they already have?
Yeah, so depending on them, it's not going to be an extra module at this point. Yeah, depending on the modules that you have, you will get this as part of a maintenance upgrade or maintenance contract. So as long as you're on an active maintenance contract and you have the ability to upgrade to version 7, yeah, you'll see these features.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that is about all the time that we have for today. We've gone over a couple minutes. Tyler, thank you. I think this was a really, really great presentation. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Really appreciate your time. Be on the lookout. We will send a follow-up email with a link to the recording of this presentation. If you found it valuable or exciting, please share it with your colleagues or on social media. As a reminder, this is the 7th webinar for educational series. You can find all the versions of past ones, as well as some demonstration videos on our YouTube channel. While you're there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're releasing a lot of new content and short videos pretty much weekly at this point. So we'll keep you up to date on our latest features and developments there. And if you haven't already, please follow us on LinkedIn. At Tilia Labs, we're a bunch of millennials, and nothing gives us a better sense of purpose than watching our follower count grow. So like us or follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll stay up to date on all the latest developments there. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks, George. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.